On today's video, we're going to talk about what most people run away from that successful people actually run towards. So hi everybody, and thanks for joining us on today's video. My name is Jason Everett, one of the trainers down here, and as you can tell, I am joined by a good friend of mine, Jenny Townsend, who's the Vice President of Marketing Communications from a company called Bamboo Creative, and her husband is actually a U-2 pilot in the Air Force, right?
Yes.
And so I know him. His name is Drew, if you get a chance to meet him. And anyway, she wrote this amazing article on Lyft, and I wanted to bring it on as a guest post on our blog because I really loved it, first of all. And I think in business, people often misinterpret the information that is out there, and you put it really well. So tell me a little bit about kind of what inspired you to write this article on Lyft in general, and kind of give me the basics, like the 50,000 foot view.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for letting me join you today. I'm
absolutely
glad to be here.
Glad to have you on.
So the whole idea of what I've labeled Creative Lyft is taking a look at what opposition is coming at you and not letting that push you away and pull you down, but actually using that as a ramp to lift you up to where you want to be.
I love it, because most people, again, in business, it's like they try and avoid resistance, or when they get met with that opposition, they think they're doing something wrong.
Right.
And what you kind of explain in the article is that that can be a really good thing, right?
Exactly. Like, I think you should pay attention to that resistance, to that wind that's coming on, that's, you know, and ask yourself, okay, does this mean that there's actually something really monumental that I can gain out of this? Is there really this incredible innovative idea that I'm just on the cusp of having? Like, what do I need to push through to actually lift?
Awesome. So for our business leaders that are out there, what would you say are the steps involved in creating Lyft? Like if they wanted to do that, because you can be met with resistance, it can be bad resistance, right?
Absolutely.
So what would be the steps to know if they're on the right path to create a good level of resistance? What do they need?
Well, to take the whole aeronautical principles a little further, I would say let's take it back to before you are actually on that runway, facing that resistance. So every plane before it takes off needs to have fuel. It needs to have a flight plan. You need to have some kind of thought and preparation before you take off.
That makes sense.
Period. Dot.
Absolutely.
Right?
So thought, preparation, step one.
Exactly. Exactly. And then once that's taken care of, you actually need to be on a runway.
True.
So you could be sitting sideways on the runway, and if the wind is coming towards you, you could, if you went in that direction, you would crash. You would go out into the grass, and it would be a disaster.
Right.
So literally, you'd have to have that direction. You have to have that runway in front of you, or that opportunity. You know, fill in the blank. But so there would be the preparation, like the flight plan and the fuel. And then you actually need a runway, or you need the vision. So
you can kind of see the direction you want to go in. You have to have some sort of insight about the direction you want to head in.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Exactly. Okay. And so once you have that kind of packed away on your back, however, you take a look at where you want to go, and then through that lens, assess the resistance that comes your way.
Right. And so this is what you talked about in the article, is that you actually, as a pilot, and I don't want to give the whole thing away, but you got to like face the wind and take off. You don't take off the other direction. So tell me about how that works, and if you can unpack that process for a second, because that's really step 3 is face the wind and head in that direction.
Exactly.
So tell me about how that works.
Yeah. So no airplane takes off going downwind. So if your tail was to the wind, if you were just being pushed down the runway, you would stay at the same elevation. You would never climb. You would never lift, right? So actually what you need to do to lift is turn your nose into the wind and actually use it as a ramp.
So you're actually like ramping up on the air as you're moving forward, and that's allowing you to go up and lift as a plane.
Exactly.
Interesting. So, and again, as you guys are watching this, you know, I want you to take those 3 steps, and you had mentioned there's kind of a 4th step too, which is once you're up in the air, and your husband, by the way, U-2 pilots, if you don't know this, they fly at the highest elevation of any plane, right? Like really, there's like undisclosed amounts of air, whatever. But it provides an amazing view. So what you said something about kind of the view and what that's like at that level.
Yeah. So any plane, when they take off and they get to that desired altitude, their view of the world changes. And I really do think there's a couple things to take from that concept. One, obviously, like just take a moment and be aware and celebrate the wins, like you always say, Jason.
There you go. There you go. See, she pays attention.
But I love being on top of the clouds, like when I travel in an airplane. I just think that there's something magical about that. I think there's something, it changes how you see the world. It changes how you see where you are. And it is that moment of encouragement to continue moving forward.
Awesome. Now, you had said something too, and
Yeah.
we talked about we were just in Hawaii. You and I got to go with our spouses to Hawaii and go with some friends. And there was a moment where we kind of popped above the clouds, and we talked about that. Do you want to mention something about that?
Yeah. So we had this very unique opportunity to be above the clouds and still be on land. We drove up this volcano. It's like 14,000 feet or something.
It was ridiculously high, yeah.
Yeah, but when we were actually driving up the mountain through the clouds, you know, like you can't really see that far in front of you. You're just trusting the road that you're on. Right. But once we broke through the clouds, it was like we were on another planet.
It was gorgeous.
It was wild. It was wild. It was an experience I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Awesome. Very cool. So one of the other things I want to ask you about, as far as creative lift is concerned, is that when you take off in an airplane, and I just love this concept, whether it's a paper airplane or a glider or something, is that it seems fairly effortless, right? It's, well, I know there's effort, but just that it's very, it's not a difficult process. Yeah, consistent's a good word, versus like a rocket, and we were talking about that. It's like a rocket is something when it takes off, it like has to resist so much and get off the ground.
Yes.
Like, so creative lift, though, is more of that effortless process instead of that fighting the earth and gravity, right?
Yeah. So I would say creative lift is more of like showing up every day. Like, it's that consistency. And like we were talking about before we started shooting, a rocket uses 90% of its fuel, getting off the first 3 feet of the ground.
That's crazy.
Isn't that wild? So, I mean, if you approached everything that you did in life with that like rocket launch mentality, you would burn out, you would crash. But it's more of the consistent climb, the just facing every piece of resistance. And the interesting thing about wind is it's not like one piece of air hits you at a time. It's a lot of wind coming at you. So it could be a lot of different things that are resistance in your life. It could just be like, maybe I'm overwhelmed by the amount of time that I can actually give to this project that I'm working on. I have other commitments, you know, there's staffing issues or whatever, like the actual wind is that's coming your way. It's probably going to come in different forms. It will come in different forms, but it's the consistency that helps you climb.
Nice. So keeping consistent, staying focused, staying on it. If you were to say like one thing to encourage somebody who's facing that resistance and who's head into it all the time, because we've both been there, right? We've talked about that before. It's like you have that moment of just total panic and you're not sure if you're on the right path. What would you say to that person to stay encouraged and to keep that consistency? What would you say?
I would say first, take a deep breath and realize that you will never climb without that wind. You will never change where you are without that wind. Like, it's that wind that's helping you. If you look at it from that perspective, and actually I saw a great TED Talk that further reinforced my little, this concept of creative lift that I've been, forming for a couple years. And it's Kelly McGonigal's How to Make Stress Your Friend. And what she actually says is how your body reacts to stress. Like your blood pressure increases, your breathing increases when you're stressed. She has the thought of, if you were to actually take a look at your body preparing yourself for battle or whatever, you
prepping for it.
Yes, it's like your stress is helping your body set you up for success. And I think that same concept transfers over to creative lift. If you view this wind, it's like, awesome, approaching this wind is going to help me get to that level. How can you go?
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, again, if you like this video, what I want you to do is I want you to write some comments below, and hopefully you'll add yourself in the comments and you can respond if people have questions for you, things like that. And this has been fantastic. I really just want to say thank you, Jenny, for being able to be on today and to check this out. And if you've got ways that you think you can create lift, or you've got some things that you want to add into our conversation today, post it in the comment section below. And if you like videos and videos like this, check us out on our YouTube page. You can go to youtube.com/businessrefuel, and you can also go to facebook.com/businessrefuel and find us there. And if Jenny, if people want to get a hold of you, what resource? Do you want them to check out your website, or where can they go?
Absolutely. Right now, bamboo-creative.com. If you want to reach out to me personally, my email address is ginny@bamboo-creative.com.
There you go. And that's Ginny with a G, by the way, not with a J. I'll be confused.
Yeah.
Anyway, right on. Well, thank you so much for being on today, Jenny. Absolutely. And you guys have a fantastic week and be amazing. Take care. Awesome. Nice.